What's up, everybody? It's your boy Phil. I'm the founder of Rep Matters, and we create dope experiences for Black tech entrepreneurs. We're here at Collision 2024, where we'll be interviewing Baron Davis, Lise from BKR Capital, Alfred from Tribe Network. It's gonna be a great conversation. We're gonna learn a lot. Join us.
I first knew Baron Davis as one of my favorite NBA players, but his transition into the tech and business world is what recently inspired me the most. Much more than just an athlete, Baron is the founder and CEO of Business Inside the Game, or BIG, but is also a multi-hyphenate creative, investor, and of course, a two-time NBA All-Star. As you can imagine, I had a million questions to ask him, but most importantly, I hoped to understand his personal journey and what founders could learn from it. As an angel investor, Baron often invests in companies that have been funded or empowered by people like Lise and Alfred. Lise is a trailblazing investor as the only Black venture capitalist leading an institutionally backed VC fund in Canada. Similarly, Alfred is one of Canada's leading experts on empowering underserved founders to succeed. Given their recent momentum with BKR Capital and Tribe Network respectively, I was eager to understand the ripple effects of their presence and mission in Canada's tech ecosystem.
Hello, everybody. How we doing?
Hey.
Small crowd, lots of enthusiasm. Okay, I can hear myself now. We're good.
Hey.
Welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming. So happy to be here. Want to give a huge shout out to Alfred, Lise, and Baron for taking the time to be with us today. We have some really cool things to talk about, so stay tuned. We're going to get at all your favorite questions. And starting with Mr. Baron Davis himself, straight from LA on the red eye today. We're in Toronto. You're from LA.
I'm going back home for the Kendrick Lamar concert.
I was about
Before
to say,
we even go there,
I was about to
I'll be
say,
at the
who you
Kendrick
got?
Lamar concert.
Kendrick or Drake?
I'll be at the Kendrick Lamar concert, front stage. They not like us. I don't participate in the rap beef. I just participate in, coast beef.
Gotcha. Well, listen. You dunked for the first time when you were 5'5", 5'6", and you were just a kid. Have you found a business equivalent to that? That feeling of, got that in?
I would say yes. The business that I'm running now, Business Inside the Game. It's a moment, right? It's like a moment where you figured out, like I figured something out. I figured that I can do something and accomplish something for myself. And so our platform, BIG, is deal flow platform, membership club, and it's really highlighting entrepreneurs, investors, and partnering them with the right C-suites, athletes, celebrities. So really like dressing your cap table.
Yeah.
And it's like when you find the it that helps you accomplish the it, right? It's like the will. Then I think for me, BIG has been that moment because I know that I can dunk every time, right? So whether I meet an investor, an entrepreneur, or an athlete, celebrity that are looking for the right companies, the right ecosystem to be a part of, like for me, that's that slam dunk moment. Like I know I'll be able to dunk every time I get to the goal.
I love how you didn't talk about money. Like money isn't the slam dunk, but it's about building and betting on yourselves and creating something of value. That's really dope.
Yeah, it's more about worth. I think high tide rise all ships, right? And when you're in investing, right, you want to see people become successful, right? If money is your reason in, then you're treating it like you might as well go gamble. You know what I mean? For us, we want to look at this ecosystem of these new entrepreneurs, these new executives, these new fund managers, and say, how can we amplify the voices, the message, the knowledge, the thought leadership, and then how can they go on to be successful? Because that's really solving the problem. If I just make a lot of money, then I'm just a rich dude, you know what I mean? Just talking shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Lise, tell me, you are an investor, you're a venture capitalist. Everyone thinks that it's all about signing checks and just saying, okay, peace, go build a company. What does it take for you to invest in the great Black founders that you invest in?
That's a really good question. For us, it's all about the team, really. So being able to partner with somebody who is as ambitious as we are. So we only invest in Black-led tech companies. And the whole goal here is to bridge the gap for underrepresented founders in a sustainable way. So we have to win. And we want to partner with somebody that is as determined as we are to win, so that they will figure out what are the right distribution channels. They will figure out how to get to solve the problem that they're trying to solve. Once we get that fit, then we know we can help accelerate them, right? So that's what we've been doing with the portfolio companies that we have. That's what we're planning to do as well with, the rest of our Fund 1, and we're also raising Fund 2 at the moment. But for us, it's really, really important to partner with visionaries, first and foremost.
And so aside from writing checks, right, what else do you do to help your founders in that? Once you've found the right founders, how do you help them build their company?
So in many ways, it's exposure. I think we've been very, very good with the multiplier effect. So making sure that, our checks are small. We're a small fund. We're $22 million. But whenever we write a check, we make sure that, there's a community of other investors who look at the company and is as excited as us around this company. So I think right now we have basically multiplied 6 times the amount invested in our portfolio companies. We also help them in different areas because you might be a great founder. You might not necessarily know exactly how to get around from a human resources perspective. So we hired an amazing director of talent who basically supports all of our portfolio companies, or there's a few hours that there is in the bank for them to basically tap into her and being like, okay, well, this is what's happening with my stuff. What do I do, right? But, mainly giving them the exposure. So we have a really huge network with institutions, with businesses, and making sure that they are in the right room. And then afterwards, we leave them there and they do their magic. So it's more, being around them and triggering events, but being in full confidence that they're able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, no, that's really inspiring. I'm at Alfred.
What's up?
Help all the founders, increase their capacity as individuals and as founders to be able to then go on and get investment from people like Baron and Lise. What's your secret sauce to that?
Yeah, I will say that this all started for me 10 years ago when I walked into an innovation hub, right? And in Canada, we have many of them across the country, about a couple dozen. And, back to the topic of this discussion, I walked into that hub and didn't see anyone in there that looked like us. Right? And so right away, I'm trying to feel like, do I belong here? Am I going to get the support that everyone else is getting here? And I didn't get that. And so from that point on, I knew that there was a gap in terms of creating spaces where we felt like we could belong and get access to those services that these innovation hubs offer. So I think for me, creating Tribe is almost like the beginning of shepherding entrepreneurs to Lise and to Baron and to other investors. And what we try to focus on is, number one, creating a sense of community, right? Being an entrepreneur is hard. No matter what color your skin is, being an entrepreneur is hard. So creating a sense of community where people can actually come into a space and get energized, feel like they belong, get the support they're looking for. Coaches, so creating access to coaches in that early stage. I know I'm sitting among some athletes on this stage. Having a coach in the early days, everything. Yes. And so creating a roster of venture partners and coaches that can support our founders is really key. And then the third is capital. On our end, right now, we're able to do non-dilutive. So that's grant money or covering expenses for founders. And again, if we can do those 3 things really well, we'll better prepare our founders to enter spaces like BKR Capital and Big.
That's awesome. And I really like where we're at in terms of having these conversations where there's a lot of Black-focused, initiatives and momentum.
Yep.
And the societal pendulum has kind of swung the other way where, so George Floyd is murdered, everyone cares, and now no one cares.
Right.
Or so it seems to be. That's kind of the way society has shifted. What does that mean for us, as a community and how we choose to build?
I think we just need to be more intentional, right? And, at the end of the day, none of what we're talking about here is about charity. We're trying to empower entrepreneurs to create generational wealth, right? So when Lise is making investments, this is not a charity play. This is supporting a founder to create value which will then in turn create wealth for the business and for the investor. So I think, you know, like we're all on stage here playing different roles in the ecosystem. And in order to avoid that pendulum coming back and folks saying, you know, we told you so, we don't want to invest in you anymore, like we have to prove them wrong at the end of the day, right? And so in order to do that, we need to collaborate. And that's, I think, a part of what we've been able to do with BKR as well.
Yeah, Baron, I mean, you have access to people in the political world at the highest level. You know, you're really tapped into the culture. So you have a good pulse on what's going on in the States. How are you seeing this sort of pendulum swinging and, you know, the initiatives that are there for Black founders?
I would just echo, you know, what was said earlier. And part of the problem is we stopped caring. You know what I mean? So, you know, in ebbs and flows of trends and, you know, when there's a lot of money, we tend to get excited and rally, right? And then when there's not a lot of money, everybody goes back into their corner. And so we have to start thinking about what we care about, right? Because that's how we stick to it. And then that's how we share resources. That's how we collaborate. That's how we solve problems. And so when we're looking at it in the States, I mean, the States is disfragmented, right? You're looking at more people are in competition with each other, right? More athletes who have funds or people of color who have funds. They're all competing for deals and they're not thinking about how to break the chain of, you know, being underfunded, right? Or investing in bad companies, right? And so how do we clear this stigma of basically fighting, you know what I mean? We're constantly fighting against the system, right? And not collaborating, coming together to find solutions where the system has no other choice but to support where we're going, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's part of why we're here. I just like to think about it. The fact that you have like 10, 15 years investing experience, you're back at being an entrepreneur, your entrepreneurial endeavor is around building community.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it really comes back to, you know, bringing everyone together. And I just think, like, one, that's super inspirational for us and everyone that's here, because it's like, you know, you have a completely different environment in the U.S. than we do in Canada, and yet we relate on a lot of these key societal issues. So, I mean, I think it's so interesting. I wanted to ask you, though, Baron, when was your first deal, and when did you know, like, I want to be an investor?
So my first deal was vitamin water.
That was your first deal?
Yeah, I think I was like 21 years old. I was just coming off like an all-star year in the league. And my guy who was the regional manager, CMO for Sprite, I had a Sprite deal coming up. And I remember we were talking about my deal and he was like, yo, after I do this deal, I'm leaving. And at the time I was my own agent, right? I fired my agent. I figured out I was gonna go out on my own, save the 6% for my future kids one day. I have 2 now, 8 and 9. And so when he said he was leaving, I was like, well, where are you going? You know, thinking he was gonna say like, go. I'm like, oh, let's go get some more money. He was like, yo, I'm going to vitamin water. I was like, what is that? And he taught me what a starting company was. And he said, we had no money. He was like, we have no money. And I was like, well, what's the budget, dude? Like, you know, maybe I can come over here and shoot commercials. He was like, dude, the budget is $45,000 for marketing. I said, I'll take that. Matter of fact, I'll take that in equity. And so I just was like super curious, and I saw at Powerade had like sold for $80 million the year before. So I was like, man, I want to take a chance on this brand, but also because I'm my own agency, I need to stick with my boy Matt because he's going to teach me how to become a marketer.
Yeah.
Right. And so I need to learn marketing. I need to learn what a brand is. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to make this sacrifice by starting with this company, Vitamin Water. And let's hope, you know, they get sold for 30, 40 million bucks. You know what I mean? And it became really like, I would say college for me, right? Because I got to sit at the table when there were key decisions being made and have an opinion. And my opinion was valued, right? And so you see a company go from, you know, $20 million in value. And so for $3 billion, right? You get to be a part of that journey and all the people that come in, and you see how entrepreneurialism or, building a startup, how that helps. That's how it helps me understand.
That's a crazy first investment. Very successful.
Yeah, I always say I'm lucky. I'm not an expert. I'm just lucky.
Could you tell us what the multiple was on that?
I can't remember. I remember what the numbers was. Yeah.
Please, you're really spearheading a movement in Canada right now. BKR Capital is the first institutionally backed Black-focused fund in all of Canada. So can we get a right? What does it mean to you to be at the forefront of that movement? And do you feel a responsibility to help the up and coming investors who are Black and who want to come into this ecosystem?
I'll correct you very quickly. We're the first institutionally backed Black-led fund in Canada.
That too, Black-led and Black-focused.
So, and we keep on saying that because I think that it's easy to sort of rub the problem under a carpet, sort of say, oh no, but there's no issue. But when you say that, and we were created in 2021, that is what there was not, and there's so many funds in Canada, but not a single Black-led fund, regardless of their thesis, was funded by institutions before BKR. And up until today, we're still the only one, right? So for us, it's very important. So we are in the mission of diversifying the face of success, but also building the ecosystem. We have so whenever we're fundraising, we got so much pushback for the pipeline, saying, okay, you're focused on Black-led tech founders. Is there enough in Canada for you to even have that type of strategy? And since we started investing, we've seen thousands of pitch decks. So what we realized is that people don't have that network. You basically hang around people often who look like you, and we needed to diversify the space for more Black-led tech companies to go in front of VC companies, but also for them to understand what they were building. So we created the fellowship program. So it's a 9-month program where we educate mid-career professionals for them to understand what investing is and to integrate the traditional venture capital space. And the reason why we chose mid-career professionals is because we see a lot of initiatives to support young graduates understanding investment. But whenever there are crises, in the economy, like what we've seen recently, it's always last in, first out. So you want to make sure that you're providing the tools to people who can bring so much value within the firm with all of their knowledge already, but just that they understand investment on top of it so that they get sticky in those firms. So we basically had 2 cohorts right now and a lot of success. So they're all now in different investment firms. And just the fact of having that program as well, we had, investors that have been investing for 20, 30 years coming and sharing their practical knowledge or lived experience and being in touch, rubbing shoulders with those fellows. And that also has opened their mind. And we're already seeing the impact and the ripple effect in the ecosystem, right? So it's really important. We're also in touch with emerging fund managers, trying to see how we can support, because our goal is not to still be here in 10 years and being like, hey, we're the first Black-led VC fund and we're the only one. In 10 years, we want to go into a room and almost nobody knows who we are because there's it's just normal to see diversity.
Yeah.
So that's really the objective. So the objective is to outperform with our fund. That's number one, and then to also build the ecosystem.
Yeah. So Alfred and I grew up watching Baron Davis.
Yeah.
And play basketball and being inspired by that. I'll never forget the Karolinko.
Oh. Karolinko.
It's by far my favorite sports highlight. What would it have meant to us to have the current Baron, who's front and center in the entrepreneurial world? How much quicker would we have moved towards entrepreneurship? 'Cause I don't know about you, but I didn't know about it at all. I was like, I got to play basketball if I want to
100%.
success.
Yeah. I had that same experience, right? Wanting to pursue basketball as a career. And it wasn't until I was in high school that I got exposed to entrepreneurship, right? And that's when I started to think outside the box and think, I love this just as much as I love basketball. Yeah. And I want to go down this path. But to your point, I didn't see a lot of people that were from the Black community in Canada that were visible in the space. So if I had that, I think that would have been a game changer. I do think that with the community that we've built at Tribe, we have many Black founders that are in high growth emerging industries. And, you know, with the support of BKR is putting money into some of these founders, right? Yeah. So we are changing the landscape of what it means to be a Black entrepreneur in Canada.
I think it's changing the landscape of what it means to be Black in Canada.
100%.
Not just a Black entrepreneur, right? Like the way that we're portrayed, you know, has huge effects. And so
100%. And I noticed something. I noticed that when this program was first put out on Collision about this engagement, it was Baron Davis, 2-time All-Star, and then it changed to Baron Davis, founder CEO. You know what I mean? And I think that's important.
Yeah.
Right? That's super important.
Super important,
yeah.
Because we want to change that narrative. And you're doing that front and center. So is the way that you portray yourself publicly, is that purposeful? And like you're thinking about, okay, Baron, or are you thinking about what are these kids thinking about Baron?
Yeah, I would say everything is done with intention. You know, it was, at one point you got to figure out, like, you're going to be the pioneer, you're going to be the sacrificial lamb, you're going to be the person, you know, the kamikaze. And so when I chose this direction, starting with Vitamin Water, starting with being my own agent, and it was like, we're a real life entourage. So like all my colleagues, homeboys, everybody had a job. We were a real entourage. But I knew that my college teammates that were not going to make it in the NBA were going to be damn good agents, damn good coaches, GMs, trainers. And so, hey, I got 3 years to be good to get another contract. Yeah, I got 3 years to get in, you know, and then that turns into now me going back and, you know, Rico Hines is associate head coach, you know, in Philadelphia. Earl Watson, you know, assistant coach and training players, right? Todd Ramazar, an agent. You know, Jelani McCoy, Ray Young, all these guys are in media. And so for me, business inside the game was once I got in, I realized that, oh, damn, I can get my PhD or my MBA from the NBA. And I can learn, you know, whether it was health, whether it was finance, whether it was production, whether it was marketing, it's all right in my ecosystem. And all I got to do is go upstairs, or all I got to do is talk to the GM. All I got to do is talk to the team attorney. And so that education for me was like, I want to be a sponge in this game, you know, and I want to bring people along. And so if somebody were to gain the knowledge and leapfrog, great. I get to watch them and analyze. And, you know, I'm like researching data. Yeah. Right? I'm trying to solve problems. You know what I mean? For sure. And I'm trying to help amplify people in spaces where they can go and become who they are.
So now is a really tough fundraising environment for a lot of founders. Black founders went from about 1% of venture capital in the US to, what is it, 0.4?
Yeah, 0.4.
0.4, right? So what message would all of us here have for founders in terms of betting on themselves, right? You bet on yourself by being your own agent, taking that 6% for yourself, representing yourself in front of, you know, this multi-billion-dollar franchise, right? What can entrepreneurs learn from that today?
You know, you just got to trust your own process, right? But at the same time, you have to have goals, right? You got to know that failure is nothing but many successes until you reach your goal, right? And you can't apologize for being right or wrong. You just got to keep going and you got to stay in it, right? You got to spend, you know, if you're an investor, you got to invest in the companies, raise the next fund. If you're an entrepreneur, as soon as you raise a round, go raise another round, right? You got to keep that train going, and you have to really just dive in and believe in yourself, you know, because everything that you're going to experience, remember, is new to you, but then there's also people around you that you can rely on.
Absolutely. Well, look, I just want to thank you all for your time. Baron, really appreciate you coming in for this. Thank you, Lise, Alfred. Much appreciated.
Stay updated by following us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. See you next time.